The United Nations Security Council today unanimously adopted a resolution demanding international access to the site of the Malaysia Airlines plane down over eastern Ukraine. Joining us tonight, the former U.S. Ambassador to Ukraine, William Taylor. He is the Vice President for the Middle East and Africa at the United States Institute of Peace. Mr. Ambassador, good to have you with us. The President, again today, talking to the President of Russia, saying that he risks further isolation if he doesn't do what he's being told to do. How is that being received based on your experience in the Kremlin? How is that being received by the people of Ukraine?
The people of Ukraine are very interested to see justice done. There's a great criminal action took place on their territory. They want to see people brought to justice, but even more, they want to see their country united. Mr. Putin has actually united Ukraine. He has brought together the East and the West in an election that brought a strong president to Kiev, and that was not possible before. So the people of Ukraine are very interested in a united Ukraine, and they want to see this resolved.
But the president speaks, many at the United Nations speak, as if Crimea is suddenly not Russian territory. That somehow the clock has been rolled back or their time has been held still, and people will not discuss the fact that that is now Russian territory, done quietly and yet so publicly. And these threats that continue to be made to President Putin, what are in your judgments, the downside, the risk of unforeseen consequences, well, foreseen and unforeseen consequences of the way in which this administration is pursuing its Russian policy?
Clearly, this administration needs to put more pressure on Mr. Putin. This tragedy, this shoot down of this Malaysian Airlines, may be the straw, may be the changing point, may be a game changer that brings the Europeans to their senses to recognize exactly what you say. That is, the Russians have invaded a neighboring country, a sovereign neighboring country, Ukraine. They have annexed part of Ukraine, and they continue to hold that as if they're going to keep it. That cannot be allowed to stand, should not be allowed to stand. The pressure needs to be raised on Mr. Putin. We did put on more sanctions last week. Those sanctions have had an effect on the stock market, on the ruble. But the Europeans now, having lost nearly 300 of their citizens, need to step up to the plate and impose sanctions similar to the way we did.
You know, Ambassador, it's a strange spectacle to behold. President Obama, who often steps before cameras and microphones to speak, keeps making threats, whether it be Bashar al-Assad, whether it be Vladimir Putin. And the reality is we're hearing very little from our European friends, and this is the most proximate crisis for them. They have the greatest risk in this confrontation. They seem to want to express neither their voice as the European Union nor individual states. They seem to want to stand absolutely on some ambiguous, vague sideline as if they were not principal actors on the world stage. That's a very dangerous position, is it not, for the Europeans?
It's very dangerous for the Europeans, and I believe that this tragedy will bring them to their senses. I believe that the Brits, for example, will now impose financial sanctions, which will hurt them, hurt their financial hub in London. Mm-hmm. I believe that the French will be pressured now not to sell these Mistral helicopter carriers to the Russians. I believe the Germans are ready to put on sanctions that will raise their gas prices, natural gas prices. This tragedy caused by the Russians is likely to unite the Europeans behind our sanctions as well.
Mr. Ambassador, good to have you with us. Thanks for being here. Ambassador William Taylor.